She rose to fame as the quick-witted teenager on Roseanne, delivering sideburn sass and unvarnished honesty that made America laugh. Decades later, Sara Gilbert would become a talk show pioneer, crafting the female-friendly co-host dynamic on The Talk and opening candid discussions about mental health and family dynamics in prime time. But today, fans everywhere are grappling with a new chapter in her story, one filled with an unexpected twist that has left her audience worried, sympathetic, and stunned. What happened behind the scenes? And how does this latest development redefine everything we thought we knew about Sara? In the next 18 minutes, we peel back layers of headlines and social media speculation to uncover the real news that is so sad it nearly took her voice away. From day one, Sara's career defied expectations. Born Sara Rebecca Abeles in Santa Monica on January 29, 1975, she took her adoptive father's surname before landing her breakthrough role at age 7. Audiences adored her quick retorts as Darlene Connor, the keen-eyed daughter who refused to be apologized for in one of television's most beloved sitcoms. While her castmates grew through catchphrases and punchlines, Sara used Darlene's restless intellect to challenge authority, build empathy, and normalize frank conversations about class, creativity, and cruelty within working families. That character struck a chord for strings deeper than laughter. It became an anthem for kids who felt smarter than what mainstream TV offered. Night after night, she spoke for those too often muted, and her performance laid the groundwork for her next bold acts off-screen. In her 20s, Sara pivoted behind the camera, studying filmmaking at Southern California Institutes and honing her voice as a producer and director. She co-created and starred in The Big Trouble Show, a short-lived series that dramatized real-life teen dramas with dark humor and raw authenticity. Though critics praised her vision, the project faltered in ratings, teaching Sara her first major lesson in Hollywood's fickle alchemy. She learned to balance personal expression with audience expectations, blending her trademark candor with glossy production values. By the time she created Gilmore Girls spin-offs and indie projects, Sara had refined a style that fused introspective depth, poignant intros, and conversational rhythms, skills that would later shape every episode of her long-running talk show. It was in 2007 when Sara stepped before the cameras as one of the founding co-hosts of The Talk. The format was simple. A panel of women would speak candidly about entertainment news, personal trials, and societal issues, breaking barriers by blending humor with vulnerability. Sara quickly emerged as the emotional backbone, leveraging her own history of navigating fame, sexuality, and family drama to ask the questions viewers longed to ask themselves. She fostered an environment where laughter and tears could coexist, planting seeds for groundbreaking segments on LGBTQ advocacy, mental health awareness, and positive parenting tips. Beyond the stage lights, she became a mentor to colleagues, listening empathetically as hosts shared breakups, family rifts, and career crossroads. Her relatable transparency turned tabloid fodder into genuine conversations, driving ratings and making fans feel heard. When she revealed her own struggles with depression and anxiety on air, the reaction was immediate. Viewers who had silently suffered reached out with messages of gratitude and solidarity. Sara's gift lay in transforming private pain into collective healing, an alchemy that endeared her to millions and made the talk a sanctuary for fearless dialogue. But today's headlines tell a different story. Earlier this week, Sara's publicist issued a statement that left fans reeling. She had been rushed to the hospital after experiencing severe complications linked to an ongoing autoimmune condition. Details remain scarce, but sources close to the family hint at a serious exacerbation of ulcerative colitis, a chronic illness Sara has managed privately for years. Those who followed her candid disclosures on The Talk will recall how she spoke about battling fatigue, weight fluctuations, and the emotional toll of unpredictable flare-ups. Behind the laughter and sparkles, Sara carried a burden few could see, a burden that demands her attention. Hospital hallways buzz with secrecy as medical teams monitor vital signs and adjust immunosuppressant therapies. Friends visit in masks, exchanging hugs at a safe distance, while fans across social platforms hold vigil through prayer, well wishes, tributes to her resilience. Yet in spite of prayers and positive vibes, doctors warn that recovery may be long and uncertain. This is the moment when the world sees the person behind the persona, the heart driving that smile, the private warrior behind the public star. And this is why the news feels so sad, because it reminds us that health can shift at any second, turning routine laughter into anxious silence. While the world watched her rise to stardom on Roseanne, only a few knew the full story behind the wisecracks and witty retorts that defined Darlene Connor. Born into a family marked by creative ambition and private challenges, Sara learned early that humor could shield vulnerability only to reveal deeper truths. Although she embraced comedic timing as a young actress, her heart always beat in sync with a desire to explore complex emotional landscapes, both on screen and behind the camera. At the same time, health struggles would shadow her path. A jaw injury at age 10 that sidelined speaking roles, and a bout of chronic fatigue in her teenage years that hinted at what would later become a lifelong battle. On the set of Roseanne, Sara navigated between bustling film crews and the demands of a close-knit cast, forming bonds with her co-stars who would become lifelong supporters and sounding boards for her evolving voice. Off camera, she quietly studied scripts, interviewed mentors, and practiced improvisation to deepen her ability to turn simple dialogue into moments of raw authenticity. Director John Pasquin later recalled, "She had a rare gift, a comedic precision that always felt human." All the while, her ulcerative colitis symptoms began to surface in her early adulthood. At first, she managed pain and fatigue with rest and adapted diets, mastering techniques to stay on set during long shooting days. But as the disease progressed, flare-ups became more intense, landing her in emergency rooms and forcing her to weigh career commitments against private well-being. Unlike many celebrities who hide health concerns, Sara chose transparency, revealing her struggle during heartfelt interviews with People magazine and on air with co-hosts on The Talk. Her candor resonated deeply with fans who saw in her a mirror of their own battles. She became a champion for medical research funding, using her platform to lobby for greater awareness of inflammatory bowel diseases and to break stigmas surrounding digestive illnesses. When she joined panels at charity galas, listeners applauded her genuine warmth and sharp intellect, as she spoke not as an abstract advocate, but as someone whose own quality of life hung in the balance. In 2013, she co-founded a nonprofit offering grants to families coping with chronic illness, and she wrote op-eds for the Huffington Post on the mental toll of invisible diseases. Through it all, she maintained a busy schedule, balancing guest appearances, writers' workshops, and preparing for a return to scripted television in a new dramedy series. Yet when news of her hospitalization broke, reminders of her ever-shifting health status flooded social channels. Viewers who had once rallied around her selfies from concession stands now sent prayers, memes, and virtual cards in a digital vigil. On Instagram and Twitter, hashtags like #GetWellSara trended as fellow survivors shared tips on managing hospital fatigue, pain flares, and emotional exhaustion. Analysts noted how her disclosure spurred a sharp uptick in search queries for ulcerative colitis symptoms, reflecting her influence in driving public interest toward medical education. Meanwhile, the talk's producers scrambled to adjust the show's lineup. Ad lists were rewritten, segment creators retooled their scripts, and guest hosts stepped in to fill the emotional anchor role Sara had embodied for 13 seasons. Though the show maintained its trademark blend of levity and candor, fans immediately noticed a subtle shift in tone. Opening monologues felt stripped of personal vulnerability, and the absence of her incisive interviews left gaps in storytelling that even scripted banter struggled to fill. Across production lines, insiders whispered respect for Sara's decision to prioritize her health, echoing her own mantra that success cannot come at the expense of your well-being. Yet whispers also spoke of uncertainty toward the show's creative growth without its heart, and executives faced pressure to bake deeper representation of chronic illness into reality programming. Could the show inject new segments exploring medical journeys? Would fan loyalty hold if peaks of empathy were replaced by filler? For now, scripts remained unwritten, awaiting guest hosts' return texts from Sara herself, promising a comeback but offering no clear timetable. And so the industry paused, watching her recovery as though each labored breath might decide the future of a show millions had come to call home. Amid this uncertainty, one truth remains unshakable. Sarah's courage ignites empathy and action wherever her journey unfolds. As the cameras await her return, her fans prepare not just to hear her quips, but to stand with her through recovery, ready to celebrate each milestone and lend strength at every setback. Her story reminds us that true heroes aren't those who never fall, but those who rise again, hand extended, inviting us to rise alongside them. In the days since the publicist's announcement, headlines have ranged from hopeful to heart-wrenching. Entertainment publications quickly circulated urgent alerts. Sara Gilbert hospitalized. The latest update, while social feeds brimmed with rotating slideshows of candid photos, blurred-out backgrounds, and tearful tweets. Fans awoke to push notifications, then sank into a mixture of dread, nostalgia, and fierce loyalty. Suddenly, a familiar name spun into an anxious question. Is our Sara going to be okay? The contrast between her vivacious on-screen persona and this frailty off-camera jolts us awake. What once felt like lighthearted banter now carries the weight of mortality, reminding viewers that icons can fall ill just like anyone else. Momentum swelled as supporters shared childhood memories of Darlene's sass and viral clips of her stirring monologues on the talk, each post an attempt to reclaim hope from uncertainty's dark threshold. At the hospital, Sarah's world has narrowed to whitewashed corridors, the rhythmic whoosh of ventilators, and masked voices brushing across sterile air. According to a close friend permitted to visit, doctors initially feared complications around her digestive tract, but recent scans revealed the inflammation had spread, demanding a more aggressive treatment regimen. High-dose corticosteroids reduce swelling but come with side effects so harsh they can leave patients battling insomnia, mood swings, and brittle bones. Sara has faced these challenges before. Rigorous diets, infusions of biologic drugs, and daily blood work have punctuated her adult life. But this flare brings new variables, advanced immunomodulators, novel clinical trials, and cautious calculations about long-term wellness versus quality of life. Through it all, she texts the producers of the talk from her smartphone. Short messages like, "Miss you guys," and "I'm okay for now," while her fiancé hovers at her side, reading aloud chapters from a detective novel to distract her when the hours stretch endlessly between labs and vitals. Meanwhile, the set of the talk hums with a different kind of energy. Producers have condensed segments to allow for more flexible taping schedules, and rotating guest hosts have stepped in to fill her absence, bringing fresh dynamics to a chemistry once anchored by Sarah's steady vulnerability. Writers retooled monologue scripts to include health updates and calls to action for ulcerative colitis research, weaving her personal struggle into the fabric of the show's mission. Yet in between the laughter and interviews, co-hosts share unscripted moments that undercut rehearsed humor, glances passed across the table, hands hovering over phones, and whispered check-ins about test results. The lighting team dims the stage slightly when cameras cut away, leaving empty chairs bathed in soft light. A silent tribute that reminds viewers Sarah's presence is missed and that this isn't just television. It's a community holding its breath until she returns. Outside the studio, Sarah's family has become a quiet force at her side. Her mother, who once juggled late-night study sessions and toddler car races in the family car, now sits vigil by the bedside, offering memory lane conversations about the day Sara first boarded a plane to reach the Big Trouble show set, or the moment her daughter confided fears about fame eclipsing family. Sarah's siblings organize daily photo albums to flip through when the pain intensifies, reminding her of laughter in backyard barbecues and vacations in Oregon's cedar forests. Their voices fill the room with familiarity, ground her in love, and reinforce a simple truth that no medical protocol can replicate: the healing power of genuine connection. In this shared cocoon, hospital gowns and four lines fade into the background as stories of childhood triumphs remind everyone why Sarah's spirit endures. Beyond immediate circles, advocates and charities mobilize in her name. The nonprofit Sara co-founded has fast-tracked emergency grants for families facing unexpected medical bills, issuing statements that every donation this week will be matched to increase impact. Influencers and fellow survivors host Instagram live sessions to answer questions about managing flare-ups, coping with weight changes, and navigating insurance hurdles, transforming cyber grief into collective action. Celebrities from former co-stars to cooking show hosts record personal video tributes, blending hopeful wishes with calls for policy change in chronic illness coverage. Meanwhile, search engines predict queries about ulcerative colitis treatment options, running slightly ahead of breaking news updates as people seek context alongside sympathy. In every click, every comment, and every donation, Sara's legacy as an advocate pivots from talk show stage to real-world laboratory of compassion. Even as her treatment plan adapts to new developments, one certainty pulses below the surface: Sara's resilience is profound. She has spoken candidly about setbacks and adjustive strategies on camera. Now she lives those lessons in quiet heroism. Doctors sketch recovery timelines with cautious optimism. 6 to 8 weeks before testing whether her colon has regained sufficient health for reduced medication dosages. Physical therapists await her discharge date to guide a tailored fitness plan aimed at rebuilding muscle lost from prolonged hospital rest. Fans hope for an on-air comeback in the fall season, envisioning Sara's return monologue acknowledging this chapter with grace, honesty, and the trademark warmth that has always defined her presence. Until then, we watch, we wait, and we celebrate every incremental victory that edges her closer to laughter-filled tapings once more. In this subtle limbo between absence and anticipated return, we find a lesson in unity, resilience, and mindful storytelling. Sara's story reminds us that health can become the most compelling narrative thread, one that demands compassion from creators and audiences alike. While we tune in day after day to see her absence and hope for news of her recovery, our collective holding of breath becomes an act of solidarity. This shared vigil transforms passive viewership into active empathy, proving that sometimes the most powerful stories unfold when the screen goes quiet and the heart speaks loudest. As cameras prepare for Sara's eventual comeback, producers and writers are already mapping out the arc they hope will welcome her back with both sensitivity and celebration. Inside sound stages, they're drafting opening monologues that acknowledge her absence, share her medical journey in her own words, and invite viewers to join a collective toast to her resilience. They discuss segment ideas such as Sara's Spotlight, where colleagues and fans submit short video messages of support, and Health HQ, a mini-series exploring breakthroughs in ulcerative colitis research, anchoring each episode with an update on Sara's progress. In digital corridors, social teams plan behind-the-scenes teasers, blurred hospital corridors, hands holding a prescription bottle, a glimpse of Sara's trademark smirk in a brief clip. They know that in today's attention economy, a single well-timed snapshot can ignite waves of empathy and anticipation, driving viewers back to the next taping and reigniting the show's cultural relevance. Meanwhile, co-hosts on the talk have begun charting the emotional landscape of Sara's eventual return. Each host contemplates how to strike the right balance between levity and reverence. Jokes about missed commercial prompts softened by genuine embraces. Teases about pilfering Sara's favorite coffee blend paired with insights on how she's passed her downtime pairing exotic herbal teas to soothe digestive distress. They review decades of shared laughter threaded through live breaks, highlights from the infamous spin the mic, challenges, and moments when Sara's microphone picked up an off-script confession that landed in all the best viral reels. These recollections aren't mere nostalgia. They're narrative bricks that will support her chapter of return, reminding audiences why her presence feels so vital and why every new taping without her left a visible void. In parallel, health experts collaborating with Sara's team are preparing to share insights into her treatment journey, carefully framed to respect her privacy while educating a public increasingly curious about invisible illnesses. Gastroenterologists, nutritionists, and mental health professionals are standing by to discuss protocols like biologic infusions, dietary adaptations, and stress management techniques that she's employed. They'll appear in labeled graphics designed to simplify jargon, ulcer spot check, flare-up diaries, rehab reset, and to empower viewers with actionable takeaways. The strategy mirrors Sara's hallmark authenticity: turn a personal hardship into a shared lesson, enable audiences with knowledge, and break down stigmas that once shrouded digestive disorders in silence. Behind closed doors, Sara and her inner circle refine the personal narratives she'll share on air. She debates whether to show footage from her hospital room, subdued shots of four lines against crisp white sheets, or to keep the visuals solely to animated infographics that trace her recovery timeline. She weighs revealing journal excerpts about the darkest nights she endured versus summarizing them in poignant voiceover reflections paired with supportive, patient-sanctioned images. Each story choice is calibrated for maximum emotional resonance. A tearful gratitude to medical teams, a lighthearted recounting of her first ginger ale toast post-surgery, and a humble nod to viewers who carried her through love-filled hashtags and handmade prayer chains. This co-creation of narrative honors the audience's role in Sara's journey, inviting them to become active participants in a story that has already redefined talk show television. As Sara readies her scripted yet heartfelt return, advertisers circle with branded integrations that promise to align with her advocacy. Wellness and nutrition sponsors propose custom segments spotlighting anti-inflammatory recipes. Tech partners offer to deploy telehealth platforms to series fans undergoing similar health battles. Fashion brands discuss designing soft weave attire tailored for those emerging from extended hospital stays. Negotiations aim to ensure corporate messages amplify rather than drown out Sara's authentic voice. In this carefully orchestrated relaunch, every on-set product placement, every intro graphic, and every sponsored social post must harmonize with her core identity: candid, empathetic, and fiercely uplifting. Ultimately, when Sara steps back onto that brightly lit stage, when her name appears on the teleprompter and the audience rises for a standing ovation, she will bring with her not only 13 seasons of television excellence, but a renewed purpose fueled by lived experience. It will be a moment of catharsis, a collective sigh of relief, and a powerful testament to the bond between a host who laid bare her struggles and a community that carried those struggles as their own. Television history will note that her absence was the longest unscripted pause in daytime talk, and her return the most anticipated entrance in years. Through it all, Sara Gilbert will remind us that vulnerability on camera can spark unity off camera, that healing can be as enthralling as any headline, and that the saddest news can be rewritten into the most inspiring comeback story imaginable. Now, as fans linger on the memory of Sara's laughter echoing through living rooms and social feeds, we stand on the brink of her return. A moment that will transcend entertainment and remind us all of resilience in the face of adversity. Each step she takes back toward the stage will symbolize more than a triumphant comeback. It will represent the universal truth that vulnerability can unite rather than divide. When the studio lights rise once more, her first smile will be a beacon of hope, uniting viewers from all walks of life who have held their breaths and sent their love across digital channels. In that instant, we will celebrate not just a television icon, but a human being who dared to share her own struggles and thereby gifted millions with the courage to face their own. The path to her return may be paved with caution and gradual pacing, but her spirit remains undiminished. She understands that healing is seldom linear, that good days and bad days coalesce into a tapestry of progress. In the weeks ahead, cameras might catch glimpses of her gentle laughter as she chats through lighthearted segments, or they might pause when she needs an extra moment to gather strength. Her vulnerability will not be hidden. Rather, it will be woven into every episode, creating a new kind of television moment. One where healing becomes part of the narrative arc fans will tune in not just for headlines, but to witness an authentic story of recovery playing out in real time. Viewers will tweet #SarahStrong and #TalkRecovery to show support, sharing their own stories and forging solidarity across continents. Her comeback will echo far beyond the schedule, rippling into support groups and mental health forums worldwide. This collective act of connection underscores the truly powerful role of community in healing together across time and distance. Behind the scenes, producers will continue refining content to honor her pace and to highlight the topics she cares about most. Segments might feature gastroenterologists discussing emerging therapies, therapists guiding mindful breathing exercises right after her monologue, and advocates sharing resources for those newly diagnosed with digestive illnesses. They will appear in labeled graphics designed to simplify jargon, ulcer spot check, flare-up diaries, rehab reset, and to empower viewers with actionable takeaways. The strategy mirrors Sara's hallmark authenticity, turn a personal hardship into a shared lesson, enable audiences with knowledge, and break down stigmas that once shrouded digestive disorders in silence. Despite initial fear, the marketing teams are rallying to frame this moment as a celebration of resilience. Campaigns for #TalkRecovery will merge her personal insights with expert interviews and community calls to action. Digital billboards in major cities will read, "Welcome back, Sara. Healing together," beneath her smiling portrait, while online platforms stream exclusive behind-the-scenes teasers of Sara's first steps back on set. These promotions aim not just to drive ratings, but to foster a compassionate viewership that recognizes the power of shared recovery. This communal anticipation underscores a key shift in how we consume stories. The most gripping narratives are no longer fictional sagas or scripted dramas, but the real-life chapters of people we admire. When someone as candid as Sara Gilbert shares her health odyssey on national television, it transforms the medium into a platform for social good. We watch not to be entertained alone, but to connect, to learn, and to feel less isolated in our own struggles. The suspense we feel before her return is not a fleeting marketing ploy. It is an authentic collective breath held by millions who care deeply about her well-being. In the end, the latest news on Sara Gilbert is so sad will stand not as a somber obituary, but as the prologue to a revitalized chapter. It will remind us that sadness can serve as a catalyst for unity, and that even the gravest health setbacks can lead to inspiring comebacks. When Sara Gilbert reappears on screen, it will prove that emotional honesty resonates more powerfully than any scripted dialogue. Her journey will live on in everyday acts. Someone sharing their own hospital story with a coworker, a teenager reaching out to a helpline after seeing her openness, a network greenlighting more empathetic programming because of her legacy. So when that next episode airs, make it an event. Invite friends, family, neighbors, and colleagues to watch together. Discuss each segment, share resources, and extend the community that Sara helped build. In doing so, you honor her story and ensure that the solidarity she inspired continues, and that the next headline isn't just about how sad the news is, but how hopeful the future can become.